This is North Georgia's News Talk.
WDUN. Well, we're coming to your city. Will we see you soon?
I want to congratulate Joe Bryce of Gainesville, Joseph Mays of Oakwood. They were both our winners of giveaways during Friday game night. Joe Bryce won the Great American Cookies Fan of the Week cookie cake. And Joseph Mays won a $25 gift card to Play It Again Sports on Dawsonville Highway between Home Depot and Olive Garden. Play It Again Sports has been servicing Gainesville and the surrounding communities for 20 years and have everything you need to live the sporting life. You can even take your used equipment in and buy newer equipment. Quite an amazing place to go. Make sure that you check them out again on Dawsonville Highway. Joe Bryce personalized cookie cake from Great American Cookies in Lakeshore Mall. He can take it to his next tailgate, to his next party, or to the WDUN studios between 7 and 8, where KDB will happily eat a piece with delicious icing on it. First BCS poll will be released Sunday, and for some insight into what we can expect, ESPN college football analyst Kirk Herbstreit spoke with me earlier today. He didn't have a ton of time, was gracious enough to give me a little bit of it, and we began with this. The Associated Press poll, the coaches poll, have basically the same 1 through 5 in their polls if you go check them out. Numbering a little different depending on which poll you're looking at. So I asked Kirk Herbstreit, what do you think 1 through 5 will look like when the first BCS poll comes out?
Wow, without knowing the Harris poll, because they hold their poll back until the first week of the BCS standings, so you're kind of speculating a little bit that it's probably going to be close to what you see from both the AP and the coaches poll. The other thing to take into consideration is the results of the Clemson-Florida State game. Will Ohio State, if they win against Iowa, hold that 3 spot in the coaches poll, which is part of the BCS standings, or will they slide behind the winner of that game? So I think you're going to see Alabama up there at 1. I think you're going to see Oregon at 2. From everybody I've talked to, I think you'll probably see the winner of the Clemson-Florida State game when they throw in strength of schedule and all of that, probably at 3. You may see Ohio State at 4. And then after that, I think it'll be an interesting debate depending on where the poll comes in with teams like LSU, Texas A&M, and then undefeated Louisville will be up in that area as well.
Next up, I noted that there's been a shift this year, and you all have seen it if you've paid attention to college football. Whether perceived or real, from defense to offense in the SEC, what teams are predominantly good at? We're seeing a lot more of offenses dueling each other with defenses getting 1 stop than defenses dueling each other with offenses getting 1 score, and that being the difference in the game in the SEC. With teams like Oregon, Baylor, UCLA, Florida State, Clemson out there who can score at will and do it fast. We've seen it. And with the SEC overall having trouble stopping the top teams in its own league, I asked Kirk Herbstreit, do you see this as being the year that the BCS title streak ends? Is this the year the SEC goes down?
I don't know. I still believe that Alabama's out there playing great defense. I know they had the 1 game against Johnny Manziel and Texas A&M. But as overall on a season, I think they're still playing really good defense. The SEC East, as you know, really got shook up this past weekend, and all of a sudden you have teams like Missouri and South Carolina back in this discussion, with South Carolina, I think, playing really outstanding defense. Missouri is going to be an interesting team to watch, considering their starting quarterback is now out for 3 to 5 weeks. So I still think that defense plays a big role in being able to ultimately get to your goal of winning a national title. Alabama's only allowing 11 points per game, again, even though they gave up 42 to Texas A&M. So as I sit here right now, I firmly believe that an SEC team will be in the national championship game. And rather than saying, is this the year they go down, I look at it the opposite way. I look at it and say, is this the year somebody can actually match up to what the SEC does and how they play on defense? Because we can talk all we want about the trend being offense and scoring points, but until we see somebody from another conference deal with the SEC's defenses, it's a fair question to wonder if teams can match up with an Alabama or a South Carolina, because even though they're playing good offense with those two teams, they still play really good defense.
We're bringing you my interview with ESPN college football analyst Kirk Herbstreit, which I did at about 8:40 this morning. We wrapped up with this. Who has surprised him most in college football this year?
I would say that two teams. I would say number one, Baylor, because of the way they're doing it. I kind of anticipated their schedule that they'd be sitting here maybe at 5-0, but I think the way they've done it, an electrifying way of scoring points, has been surprising to me. And how good LSU is on offense. I didn't realize that Cam Cameron, who I had a lot of respect for coming in from the NFL, would have that big of an impact on an offense that, let's face it, has been fairly predictable and vanilla, conservative over the last 4 or 5 years. Their defense is young. They lost so many great players on that side of the ball of the NFL. They seem to be getting better every single week out. And you mix Cam Cameron and Zach Mettenberger and the skill that they have around that quarterback position with the scheme of Cam Cameron. And I think what LSU is doing on offense right now has been a very pleasant surprise to me this year.
I got to tell you, Kirk, it's been a treat for me. Thanks so much for taking some time out. We appreciate you and everything you do for us, keeping everybody informed.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. Take care.